Hello, and welcome to the Victim Slayer podcast. My aim is to slay every last bit of the victim, loser, bitch that lives inside of you, me, and everyone. Why? Because victims suck dick. I'm here to give your ears a break from Fantasyland and provide a heavy dose of the truth. Here we fucking go. Hello, and here we are back again, the Victim Slayer podcast. Hello. So today I've got a little story that happened today actually. I just want to share it with you. If it makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, I apologise. This is not my usual type of story, but it is essential to what I want to go on to from the story, you know, what I was thinking about because of the story. So I have to tell you, I'm sorry. I'm not some feminist who thinks this is funny. Anyway, I'll get to the point. So basically, I was doing my workout outside and I was just being a bitch, you know. It's snowing at the moment and I was trying to do pendulum lunges and I kept fucking slipping and my foot, like the snow's kind of it's been snowing and then it's been freezing where I've been walking on it in lumps, and then it's snowed on top of that, so there's like little ice mounds under the snow and it's just pissing me off. But basically overall what I'm trying to say is I was being a bitch, and it was really that was pissing me off because I was getting frustrated. It's a beautiful day outside, like the snow is gorgeous, we've had more, and then it's like blue skies, sunny, like the perfect day. I love that kind of day. So I'm like, fuck, and then that's just pissed me off. I'm like, why am I being such a bitch? Pull yourself together, like kicking the snow and that. And then my phone keeps getting wet, like I'm using my phone for the timer because it's HIIT exercises, and then I'm kicking the snow to try and level out the mounds, mounds, you know. And then I start, like, my phone's already been getting soaking, then I start kicking the snow to thingy the mounds, and then what does that do? It gets my phone even more soaking. I'm like, fuck, I'm driving myself insane. And so it gets a little bit better by the end of the 3 rounds, as usually it does, you know. If you're a fitness person, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not, you will be if you stay tuned, you know. It's basically, fitness is the key to not being a bitch. So this is what was pissing me off as well. I was like, why? Oh, just, you know, frustrated, you know. And then you get yourself into such a mess because you're being such a mess. Anyway, so you get the picture, right? I was being a bitch. So I come in, I'm editing the videos, and I'm like, right, I'm gonna have to show people how much a bitch I'm being. This is ridiculous. Like, I always talk about people being a bitch, and now here I am being a bitch. And I'm editing the video, and I'm still like, what is wrong? Like, I've done the exercise, I've done everything. There's nothing actually wrong. Like, what is just pissing me off? I'm like, I don't know what's wrong, and that pisses me off. So I'm sitting there editing the video, getting ready. Then the laptop stops working, and like all these things, yes, might be a bit annoying, but usually to me, these days, not used to be, my old self would have been a little bitch about all these things, and that's what was pissing me off as well. It's like, why am I being like I used to be? Like, why am I getting frustrated over my laptop not working? Like, technology never fucking works, let's be honest. And it is frustrating, but it's just, you know, one of those days anyway. However, I don't like that, because when you get into that thought process of, oh, it's one of those days, everything's going wrong, which went through my head, then I was like, no, not everything's going wrong, and that's only because you start to perceive it that way on those days. Okay, maybe there are days where everything goes wrong, however, it's not really one of those days. Just because you're sliding in the snow, Michelle, and then your laptop doesn't work for one thing that you're trying to do, that doesn't mean it's one of those days. So like, cut the shit is what I told myself. And I was like, yeah, like, so what the fuck, what's wrong? Shut up. Okay, you get the picture. So then I'm like, right, I'm gonna go do this other workout because this laptop isn't working, so I can't post this video, blah blah blah. And then I don't know at what point, but somewhere within that time period, it just hit me, and this is the part I'm sorry to explain, but I started my period today. And as soon as I realised that, like, I just burst out laughing. I was like, oh my fucking god. The relief. I cannot tell you the fucking relief that I felt just from realising that. I was like, oh my god, that's why you're being such a bitch. Oh man, score, like fucking score. Because I could not see what I was doing wrong, right? And it just made me feel better. It just made me feel better. Instantly, I was like, actually buckle. I was laughing like fuck. I was like, haha, it's the fucking hormones. And so, that's my story, right? And that got me thinking about, I mean, honestly, the relief. It just, and since then I've been fine. I've still been being a bitch, but like, because I know why, it's like okay. And because beforehand I couldn't, and I kept thinking, what am I doing wrong? All the things I've already explained. I don't need to go over it again. Blah. What am I saying? Blah. It was confusing. I just didn't like not knowing. As soon as I knew, oh my god, that's what it is, it just lifted a weight from my shoulders and thought, whoa, it's okay. It's alright. You're just gonna be crazy today. And maybe the next few days, like, but you know now, right? So, what I was thinking from that is really, that's a mindset that we need to adopt for our lives. For example, there's a lot of shit that our parents give to us. Okay? That's the truth of it. Genetically speaking, they pass down addictions. Bad... but I don't know. Addictions, definitely. And then just other genetic things, like they're going to pass down, pardon me, the ability to play music, do art, good things, but they're also going to pass down bad things, like, I can't even actually think of anything, even though there's tons. Let me just pause. Let me have a little think. They're going to pass down anger issues. They're going to pass down being a bitch. I think that's a human thing in general. But a lot of these things are. Anyway, you know what I'm saying, right? They're going to pass down bad shit, and they're going to pass down good shit. And that's within our genetics. Never mind the shit that they're going to pass down, like, that isn't genetic. What's the word for that? Like environmental things. So the way that they raise us. And then not only that, we've got circumstances, right? And I speak a lot about kind of giving the fuck you finger to circumstances, right? But that doesn't mean that I don't believe they're there. And I want to make that distinction. It's very clear. Circumstances are there, right? And a lot of us have been, no, we all have our own circumstances, don't we? And we all have our own family problems, unless you're really lucky. And we all have this shit. We've all been passed down good things genetically and bad things genetically and through the environment, through our upbringing. Okay, so, and then this is where people get lost in the circumstances. They kind of see that, and they kind of, and then they start to go into that victim mentality, because they think, then they maybe don't point a lot of things at the parents. I see a lot of people don't do that because it's hard. I have no problem doing that, but they can point at maybe wider society, what that's done circumstantially to not be good for them, how like the school wasn't good, let them down. I don't know, you know what I'm talking about, circumstances, how this happened, blah 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 blah. Okay, so I'm not ignoring that, although I say fuck circumstances and get on with it. That is still what I'm saying, but I want to make it clear that once you accept that a lot of these things aren't your fault to begin with, that doesn't mean then you throw up your hands and go, well, it's not my fault, so there's nothing I can do about it. No, you say, that wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault that growing up I saw my parents use drugs, alcohol, food, whatever kind of thing to cope with life. And I picked up that habit. It's not my fault that my parents didn't teach me any discipline. It's not my fault that my parents, and I'm going to go further into this, allowed me to be overweight. None of this is your fault. And so what you need to realise is a lot of the things that you might be feeling shit about yourself for, like I was earlier, thinking, what, racking my brain, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing everything that I normally do. Why? And there's no conceivable reason. It's a beautiful day, and I actually think it's a beautiful day, and everything's going well. What is going? And then you feel so guilty. What am I doing wrong? You haven't done these things wrong, and you may be in a mess due to so many of these factors. Okay, and I'm never denying that when I say fuck you circumstances. I'm not denying that. I'm not actually denying that you're a victim. Okay, I want to make that clear as well. Although I'm trying to slay the fuck out of victims, I'm not denying that you're a victim. Many people are. We all live in a crazy time where craziness is all around, and it is mental. I am not denying that. However, we have to realise that that is not our fault, and let that lift. Let that go. Oh my god, okay, right, okay, so the reason that I started drinking or smoking or whatever kind of addictive thing that you've done, the reason that I'm a person that avoids things is because, oh, look, my mum avoids things, or my dad avoids things, or my dad drinks, or my mum drinks, or they both fucking drink, they both smoke. Like, you have no idea how much influence they've had on you. It doesn't need to be your parents, it can be other people within the family, even friends, but more so family, like people that have influenced you from a young age and have that biological influence as well. Like, that's not your fault, right? So you have maybe at this point picked up a fucking ton of bad habits, and remember, some of these are genetic, okay? So like we're saying with the addiction, I'm just going to use that one, it's the easiest one. That's fucking genetic, right? That's powerful. It takes a lot of strength to overcome bad genes. We'll call it bad genes because they are, right? And actively use your mind to select the good genes. So let's say your parents have passed down a creative ability to you, or problem solving, or athleticism, whatever the fuck they've passed down to you that's good. What you have to do is try and notice that. So which ones are good? What have they passed down to you that's good? Examine your family. Examine where things have come from. It'll make you feel better. What have they passed down that's good? Hold on to that. And that's probably pretty easy because it's there, right? You're not just going to lose the ability to draw or sing or whatever. But you do, what I'm saying is you have power to actually choose the bad genes that you don't like that they've passed down to you as well. You don't actually have to take them. It's very easy for you to take them, and that's the problem, because we don't even think about it. It's within our family structure. Even let's say that you have drinks every night, or you have drinks every weekend, or something like that. You have drinks often, or you all sit and smoke, whatever, you all watch TV, all these bad habits, pardon me, that's the norm, isn't it? So you're not really thinking about those things. However, I fucking lost the train of thought there, damn it. Right, let me just relax, it's okay. I don't know who to blame for my spaghetti mind, but I'll try and find someone. Right, let me just take a moment. What the fuck was I saying? Oh, I hate this. Right, never mind. So, yes, you have the choice. You have the choice of what you take from them. So, examine which things are bad, which things are good, and then decide which things am I going to get rid of. It's not your fault that you've been in the environment of, for example, right, there's two types of families, isn't there? There's not two types of families, but in this example, there is the athletic family, the family who goes out cycle runs or anything and does activities outside. And then there's the family who is sedentary and watches TV and eats popcorn, and that's their way of bonding. Okay, there's those two types, and it's not your fault that you, right, I'm sorry, but one is better than the other there. Like, that's just the harsh truth. It's not just a matter of opinion. Like, one of them's really better, the activity one. Doesn't need to be outside, but the fact that you're doing something rather than watching TV as your main environment. And I know that's many bloody families. It's my family, it's many families. So it's not your fault that you're born into that. And the fact that you have then developed these habits unknowingly, how could you not? That's another thing. Give yourself a bit of a fucking break. How could you not pick up bad habits when the ones who are caring for you are stuffing your face with popcorn every weekend? And then you don't know how many things as well when you were young, for example, like, were they just giving you chocolate when you felt shit? And then now you've got a problem with comfort eating. I'm sure that's happened to a lot of us, okay? So what I'm saying is, let that weight lift from your shoulders. I'm going to give you a hard time a lot about you not doing the right thing and not living the right way and being lazy and being rubbish. I'm gonna be harsh about that, but take this time to take it in that today, and I do always mean this, that it's not your fault. It's not your fault where you are 100%, because there's a lot of circumstances and there's a lot of values within your family, values within in your community, and then wider society. Because again, I'm not even blaming just your family. Like, it's normal here in Scotland to, and many places, to go out and drink. Like, it's normal for your 18th birthday to be a fucking scramble your brain, get wasted. Do you know what I mean? And that's not. It seems to be normal in quite a lot of places. It's normal to do all that shit instead of, like, you know, it could be normal to go on a boat trip for your 18th. That's just, like, I'm not like a boat person, but it could be. Do you know what I mean? So there are circumstances, and I do understand them. I'm not what's the word? I'm not disregarding them and their importance, okay? They are important and they have affected you, and not everything's your fault. Not all the places that you are that are bad are your fault. But then from there, once you've taken that relief, oh fuck, okay, not all these problems are actually my own. 2 seconds while I drink this delicious smoothie, sorry. Apologies, but that was good. So, from there, you then have to decide, like I said, looking which things are you going to pass on to your children, because remember, all these things pass on. So if you are not the person who stops and looks around you and looks around at your family circle, what's common in your family, what's good and what's bad, and decide, that's not happening for the rest of my life, and it's not happening for my children's life. That's within your power. It is hard to do, but people do it all the time. People put a stop to the cyclical family shittery, you know, to put it technically speaking. That's exactly what they do. So it's possible. But you have to examine it, and it can be hard because families are emotional things, aren't they? People have very, very strong emotions towards their family. Obviously, it's a biological thing. But that means looking at these things honestly it's hard for people, and people don't want to admit that maybe their parents weren't good enough in some way. Maybe their community wasn't good enough in some way. Maybe, you know, all these things weren't good enough. But you need to draw a line and say some things weren't good enough in order to change it. And in order to not just say, oh well, it's just a matter of opinion. No. Like, trust yourself. If something felt like it wasn't good enough for you, it's probably true, you know? And again, think about the next generation. Do you want your kids feeling that way that you felt? If you felt bad. And then I'm going to should I transition into that yet? I'll just try and wrap that up first. So, have a look, have a think, have a day, and just think about what it is that your family's giving you, what it's bad that it's giving you, and think, what am I going to draw a line to? Remember, it is possible. It's not a family curse. It is slightly, if you let it, but what's the first step to any fucking kind of change? It's awareness. So as soon as you take that time to actually think strategically about it, what am I going to take on and strengthen, and what am I going to leave behind and detach myself from? You know, humans are incredible creatures. We're half animal, half divine, unlimited beast, you know, and that's what I hope you can realise listening to this podcast as well, is that you're both. So when you recognise that there are animal pulls on you and that you're not just some god, that there's limitations, that's a great thing to know, that there's certain pulls and drives like emotions towards your family that can make you irrational, that make you not see clearly. That's a great thing to know. But then on the other side of that, there's also way more than just a body, way more than just flesh and bone. You have a mind that, when sparked with a true desire and a true passion to change, nothing can stop it. It's bonkers. One thing I think is bonkers, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong here probably, is Eliud Kapoor. I don't know how to say his name. I didn't plan on bringing him up in this. This just came out. Otherwise, I would have looked it up. I could look it up right now, actually, but then I won't know how to say it. But anyway, right, he's a beast. This blew my mind when I first found him. There's a documentary about him and two other guys, maybe more, but it kind of goes around these three guys trying to achieve a marathon in 2 hours. What the fuck? And in the documentary he just misses it, but he then a few years later, like, was it last year maybe? He achieved it, which we knew, me and David, when we were watching it, we knew he would, because his mindset is just crazy, so disciplined. He's amazing. He's such an inspiration. And if you know anything about running, like, because it's hard, you know, if you just hear these things and you haven't run, you don't know even how fast that is, but I think it's like 13 miles an hour he runs for 2 hours. Like, what the fuck? It's just insane. So to me, that is another sign of the limitlessness of humans. I mean, what? And there's so many examples of that. Another person I follow on Instagram, Stephanie Millinger, I'm great with names, I can't remember the details, but she did press handstands. How many did she do? Like 300? Could be. I think her new record that she just broke was 402. And so press handstand, so in a handstand, and then your legs come down into like a straddle, kind of over your arms, and then back up into a handstand. Like, doing one of them is insane. Like, that, I would love. That's my goal. One day I'll be able to do one of them. However, she does that for, like, I can't imagine how long it takes, like, to do the 402. But that means it's not even just that. She's in the handstand the whole time. Like, so what? Like, what? For like hour, I think it's over hours. Oh, the camera. That's rude. So yeah, so she's in that position the whole time and doesn't ever come out of it. Like, her legs never touch the ground. Like, if you know what just look up a fucking handstand straddle thing. Press handstand, sorry. Anyway, it's crazy. So these people show us every day that we are in some ways very fucking limitless. Is that sound right? Limitless, it must be right. We have no limits. So in some ways we have no limits, and in other ways we fucking have limits, but it's very good to know that both are true, is what I'm trying to say. Know that you're an animal, and know that you're also divine power, beast, strength that can do anything that you want to do. Okay? jumped up after thinking about them. Honestly, go check them out if you don't know who they are. Even though I've said their names really badly, but I'm sure you'll find them. 2-hour marathon for one, and then world record for press handstands for the other. Okay. So yes, what I kind of wanted to go on to about children who are overweight. So this is going to be a bit longer, but I'm just going to go into it. So basically, this is another one that's very... I think like the statistic here for obese children is something like this. I mean, I looked this up years ago, so please forgive me, this is probably very wrong, but you get the general gist, is that if you're an obese child, it's like 80% likely that you'll be an obese adult. So parents who have made their children overweight are... It's what a doom sentence that is. Like, to be quite blunt, to me it's child abuse, right? It is child abuse. There's so much wrong with having overweight children, and I'm sorry if that hurts you because you were an overweight child, and that I'm basically saying that your parents abused you. To me that's just how it is, and I'm sorry if that hurts, but it's not acceptable. We all know it's bad. Sugar is no different in my eyes, really, than all these kids walking around with needles hanging out their arm, you know, shooting it up, doing lines at fucking when they're 4. It's disgraceful. Like, every year when I go and see until this year, but when I go and see my little sister's dance show, it's unbelievable the amount of overweight children. There's more overweight children than there is normal weight children. And it's horrible, because obviously then you see as well their confidence. When they're younger it's not as bad because they're not really aware of their bodies yet, but it's still not nice to look at, you know. It's so unnatural. It's such a shame. And then you see as they get older they get self-conscious. Obviously they're on a stage in fucking leotards and tights and tight outfits and with their bellies, like short tops with their bellies out, etc., and they're self-conscious, and it's not okay. It's not okay to do that to a child. There's so much that comes with that. Again, no confidence, self-consciousness. That's a huge part of it. And people are also going to drop out of doing things like athletics, dancing, lots of things, because they feel so not okay in their own skin, and that's a huge problem in society. Possibly one of the biggest, could be argued, and it's just overlooked because again we live in pansy-ass societyville where you can't say things for what they are because people get hurt, but it doesn't help anyone, because again, do you know who all that suffers? It's the fucking kids, and this pisses me off so much because they're the ones we should be protecting, but no, we're protecting the fucking parents who are going to feel bad when you say that they're being shit. And all it comes down to is not saying no. Okay? These parents have not said no to their child. Like, it's so simple, it kind of boggles my mind that this can even happen. Like, you give your child good food and they eat it, or they go hungry. Guess what? They're not going to go hungry. It's that simple. But the parents want an easy time. They're all working 7 billion hours and don't have time for their families. That's another shit thing that we'll go into another day. They come home, just give their kids pizza, and it's easier, isn't it? Because you don't have to actually sit them down and I mean, they're not going to say no to pizza because it's full of fucking shit and sugar and fat and things that aren't fucking good for you, okay? Things that make you feel shit on top of being fat. So it's a terrible cycle and it's not good enough. I'm sorry, and that's what I wanted to kind of go into from the earlier part, is that if you have always been overweight, as in you've been overweight since you were a child, I am so fucking sorry. And that makes it so much harder for you. However, not impossible. You've got 20% or more. We can bring those stats up, but it's hard. And if you're a parent that has a child that's getting overweight because it's easier for you to not argue with them about a biscuit, the thing is, you shouldn't be fucking arguing with your children. You are the boss, right? When did this ever come about that the child can even have a say in this? You cook the fucking healthy meals and give it to them. But the problem is as well, because parents are eating unhealthy, then obviously the kids eat unhealthy, right? So the responsibility lies with you. You need to fucking stop that, because it's bigger than you. It's not just about your own health, it's about your children's health and confidence and well-being, mental and psychological well-being. Because when you feed them shitly, they're not going to want to take part in sports. Their confidence is going to go down. It just ruins everything, so you need to really fucking stop that if that's what you're doing right now. I'm sorry that's harsh, but it is just in fact the truth. It's not my opinion. And the great thing is, you can do it as a family, so when you start eating healthy, get your kids, just try and do it sooner rather than later. But again, if you're a kid that was overweight and you're now still overweight and you're struggling, I'm sorry that's happened to you. It is not good enough. But you can turn it round. You can definitely, although it's harder, but be bloody proud of yourself every bit of progress that you make, because I hope this actually inspires you more, because it's harder for you than it is for anyone. Obviously, you can look around at people who've been athletic the whole time, people that have been a bit overweight. It's nothing like being overweight as a child. I was lucky in the sense that I always liked vegetables. Pardon me. My mum made me eat my dinner when I was younger, and I liked vegetables. But children who have never been made to eat their vegetables, their taste buds are so used to sugar and fat and shit and just heavy carbs that then eating a carrot is like, what the fuck? And this is just from what I imagine it to be like. I can't, it must be terrible, right? So your taste buds are all very much used to unnatural things, and that's not good. So if you're in that position, don't give up. You can do it. It's going to be harder for you, but I hope that motivates you, that when you look around everyone else that's doing it, you're doing something that's way harder. So every time you make progress, you should be really, really, really proud of yourself. And yeah, if you're listening to this and you are a parent who's been slacking with nutrition and you're still listening, then good on you, but change that, please, because it has way more bad consequences than you can imagine. Although if you imagine them, you probably know that already, but you're not looking at it. You're just and don't you dare, can I just say, blame your child. Oh, they're picky. No, you don't have discipline. You don't have authority or respect from you. It's all up to you. This is it's bullshit when people say this. So please change that. It is not good enough. It is child abuse. Just because society doesn't deem it child abuse, that's only because it happens so often. There's many things within society that we don't deem as not good enough and as abusive just because either it makes money, like sugar, or it happens too often. It's too big of a problem. So we can't obviously take all these kids off of their parents and put all these, and say no, or whatever, put all these parents in jail for child abuse, because everyone's doing it, right? And that's what happens in a terrible society. That doesn't mean that it's any less abusive or terrible. It's just that everyone's doing it, not a good thing. So you have the power to change that, either if it's for your own life or for your children's lives. You have the power to change your genetics. I haven't actually looked this up, but I did hear that you can actually change your genetics within your own life. So let's say your parents are alcoholics and then you were an alcoholic but then changed, well, I don't even know about that, but anyways, you stopped it in your life. I believe that, well, I've heard that, I've not checked this, that actually does change the DNA for the next line, which I think is very important. If that's true, I should just look it up. It sounds good anyway. But that makes me feel good, because, you know, I've worried about things like that, like addictive sort of things, and things like that. Like, do I have control over that for my kids? Because I obviously want to give them the best that I can, and apparently you have control over that. So it makes sense to me that would be true, but I'll have to look it up. Anyway, so either way, we have the power to change, so that by the time we have our kids, that we are in a good place, so that we can enforce discipline, respect, and good qualities in the environment of our children, so that we have energy to take them out and not have sedentary lives. And we want to be passing on good things to our kids. If not, we want our own lives to be good if we're not having kids or whatever. And when our own lives are good, that means we can pass on goodness out the way to friends, family, and wider society, and that's what it should be all about. So fix the things you can in yourself, and everything else will change. If you want to change the world, change yourself. When I say change yourself, I mean get better. It's all about getting better. So I think that was a good episode. I hope you enjoyed that, and make good choices, not bad excuses. Thank you, and good night.